Welcome back from the break. You're still watching AM Ghana Breakfast Show here on Adwa Television. The name is Reginald Robertson. Call me your morning star. We told you from the 1st of April that we're in the South African month. We are speaking South African. We are living South African. We are breathing South African. And then we are enjoying our Ghanaian stay here, but zooming into South Africa. Yesterday, 27th April, was the Freedom's Day. And then there's a lot of things we're expecting to have done together, but because of COVID-19, we can't do it. But tomorrow, there's going to be a sliding Sunday tomorrow at the residence of the ambassador, where we'll be going to. So good morning to Excellency Jeanette Grace Mason. Tomorrow, she's going to have us there. The conversation today is going to be on trade and businesses of South Africa. Trade and businesses of South Africa. And we've had this fine gentleman come here earlier in the month to have conversation on. Today he's also here again to have this similar conversation with us. He's in the presence of Mr. Weber Grant. He's the president of the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, and you, Reginald?
I'm doing fantastic. The last time you came here, I saw you on a scooter. You're still on a scooter?
Yes, you know, I'm very practical. I think with the traffic as bad as it is in Accra, I try to not waste time. So buzzing around on the scooter makes sense.
That is fantastic. So for all your daily or day-to-day engagements and activities, is a scooter that aids your flow?
Yes, you know, I'm out seeing customers all day, every day. And, you know, instead of seeing 2 customers a day, if I was in my motor car, I'm on my scooter and I can see as many as I can. So it's practical and it's efficient.
Okay.
And I'm doing my bit for the environment by not polluting too much.
That is good. That is good. That is good. Yeah, environmental friendly, I should say.
Very much. And it's a big part of my life, you know, pushing environmental issues. And it's central to my business as well. So I try to practice what I preach.
Okay. Now, before we even come to the main mandate for this conversation, what has been the relationship between, or what has been your observation with business owners and business people that are purely Ghanaian, and then the engagements that South African and Ghana businesses are also doing? What is your overall observation when it comes to business in Ghana?
My overall observation is a positive one, a very positive. I think that South African businesses that have set up here over the decades have been sustainable and have done very well. It's always in collaboration with Ghanaian businesses. And I think in that regard, I think it's been a healthy relationship. I could use MTN as a real champion of our cause, where they listed on the stock exchange 18 months ago. And any Ghanaian was able to buy shares in MTN over the counter. And if you bought shares at that particular time, fast forward to today, I think you're a lot richer than you were then. So I think that's a democratization of share ownership, which I think is an incredible story.
Certainly.
The others are privately owned if you're shareholding, so it's slightly different. But I think the outreach programs, the CSR programs, mostly by the bigger SA brands, have been impactful on communities. But by and large, I think collaboration has been good with Ghanaian companies. And I think there's a new era of collaboration coming, especially with our chamber. And I think the next few months, there will be TV shows here where we really try to display how we work with smaller businesses, mostly in the tech space, but not exclusively, and how we're able to promote the growth and sustainability of the next wave of young Ghanaians who are trying to take advantage of the tech revolution.
That's wonderful. I think that will be, in the course of the conversation, we'll be looking at what the future prospect looks for, like as far as the chamber is concerned. But you have not only exposed yourself to Ghana representing the chamber, you've been at some parts of the world. representing South Africa Business Chamber. What is the trade story like when it comes to South Africa businesses?
The trade story for the last 30 years is a very good and positive story. So just before the advent of democracy in South Africa, so I've looked at the stats from 92, so it's roughly 30 years. And the growth has been only broken 1 year in 2008, where there was a slight dip in the value of exports from South Africa. But by and large, the graph goes up and right. And it's been, as I say, an unbroken growth story. So 30 years, fantastic story. 90% though, nearly, of the trade, the exports from South Africa into Africa, go to the SADC region. So those are the African countries, the southern African countries just around South Africa. So therein lies some interesting learning for us here in Ghana when we try to emulate what South Africa has done as an export champion intra-Africa. How does Ghana become the ECOWAS champion of exporting products? I think South Africa's industrial base is sophisticated and it's of long standing. So it's understandable that the trade values into Africa are as high as they have been. But as we were talking earlier about past success not guaranteeing future success, I think South Africa faces headwinds now. And their past 30-year track record is not necessarily going to guarantee the next 30 years. So again, there's some learning for us there, where we trying to grapple with challenges here in Ghana about boosting our manufacturing base and how do we industrialize. I think there's some learning to be had there. But by and large, the South Africa trade story is an incredibly good one. It comes, as I say, many decades of investment in industry across sectors. And I think there are champions in all manufacturing sectors in South Africa and exporting into Africa.
Is this something that we can say at the face of the challenge, where Ghana as a whole, we also have manufacturing challenges that we have to look at? As a business chamber, have you considered that in moving forward, looking at the 30-year plan that you've had, the successes you've had for yourself, in moving forward, some of the countries that you partner with in terms of bilateral trade and what have you, you would do well to establish manufacturing companies there to aid both economies?
Yeah, definitely. There has to be host country manufacturing. And I think that could happen now and accelerate in Ghana, given the government's policy to promote manufacturing in Ghana. The one district, one factory policy, I think, is a very good one. I'm very, very excited to see that the motor companies have set up assembly plants here. And we should see Ghanaian-made vehicles not only bought for Ghana, but exported to countries around us. So I think that they're taking advantage probably of the free zone program, again, which is an incredibly important incentive for companies to set up manufacturing in Ghana and then to export to other African countries. So I think a few of those policies that the government has set up, I think are very, very encouraging and should further attract proper foreign direct investment to Ghana.
Okay, but then touching on foreign direct investment, there's a lot that South Africa has done in the past to see to it that we have or benefit from some investment opportunities there. What are some of the current investments that South Africa is into so far as Ghana and South Africa businesses are concerned?
Well, Nissan, as an example, in the auto space, the African operation of Nissan is based in South Africa. So that setup with local partners is driven by the South African office of Nissan. So there certainly I would claim that as a South African driven initiative
Okay.
through local partners, and that's going to be a very, very good story to tell in future. Pharmaceutical manufacture is important for the continent, and Aspen is the biggest pharma company in South Africa, incredibly successful company, and they have a small joint venture currently in Ghana. I think they've been testing the market with a local partner, and I see growth in pharma manufacturing being an area where Ghana can be a champion, whether it be for ECOWAS or the entire continent, I think. I read an article that the pharma industry have approached AstraZeneca in the UK about the possibility of manufacturing the COVID vaccine here. So that's not a South African story, but that certainly shows that the pharma industry in Ghana is being proactive and is looking for opportunities to further enhance their production in Ghana. So I think if we choose to be champions in certain sectors, that's probably going to be the best way forward. I don't think we can be all things to all people. Ghana is, after all, a small economy, in absolute and relative terms. But, you know, Rwanda has proven that a very small country can punch above its weight.
That's true.
And I think they've decided to be leaders in ICT, amongst other things, and clean energy, etc. And it's working well. So Ghana will select those industries where it can be a champion. And I think there are areas. So auto manufacturing being one. Pharma, I think there's no reason why we shouldn't be pharmaceutical producers across a range of products. And then with our agriculture as broad as it is here, notwithstanding the problems that agriculture faces, I think there's an opportunity to do value added to various of the Ghanaian products that are produced here.
Yeah, well, value addition is one other challenge. So it's good that you've taken note of that.
So I guess before we can do the value addition here in Ghana, it's an investment in equipment, technology, and people. So we need the skills. We need equipment, machinery to be productive at scale. So there is the need for foreign direct investment, partnerships, etc. I think technology advancements and the price per unit decreases make it compelling now, where before perhaps it was too expensive and too difficult to implement. I think now we're at a stage where the cost and the access to technology is now here, and that should assist with the modernization of agriculture.
What has been the challenge heading the chamber? I'm sure maybe your counterpart to here in Ghana, and likewise Ghanaians, because the last time I was at the place, they were telling me we have some businesses that are registered, they are Ghanaian owned in South Africa, they only operate in South Africa, but they do want to export some of their products from South Africa to Ghana and vice versa. What has been a clear challenge that the chamber and its members are facing when it comes to doing businesses in Ghana, likewise in South Africa?
There are challenges when entering a host country, and Ghana is no exception. I think the Ghana Investment Promotion Center does make it easier for foreign companies to set up here. But I do think that it should still be easier. I think the barrier to entry, especially for smaller businesses, is depending on the industry you operate in, there are minimum investment requirements. And I think for me, I don't see the sense in that. I know in Kenya, on the East Coast, they have similar minimum investments, which the government is on the verge of either reducing or scrapping entirely as they try to encourage smaller entrepreneurial type businesses to set up there. So I think if there are these minimum levels of investment, Ghana's missing out on smaller businesses who could set up here and who could employ people, who could skill up young Ghanaians and who could grow. So that's one where I think there's room for vast improvement. Your previous show was talking about safety and corruption. Ghana is no different from any other country. I do think the high levels of corruption in Ghana are an issue, whether you're a Ghanaian business or a foreign business. I think it can be scary for foreign businesses. So that has to be top of agenda for all business leaders. I think it needs to be a debate, a discussion held all the time. And to try and push the governance and compliance issues which certainly do beset foreign companies.
I hope that our stakeholders, when it comes to governance, do well to engage businesses, foreign businesses, to see the mindset or the welcoming nature or the assessments when it comes to these indicators like corruption and security. Have you had that engagement with our governance people?
Yes, so I draw the distinction between the engagement from policymakers and then what actually happens on the ground, and the two are not the same. I would reference the Corruption Perceptions Index, which is a global index. And it ranks countries using various criteria. And both South Africa and Ghana rank far too low on that index. And that indicates that there's vast room for improvement. So having an engagement at policy level and what the law says is one thing, but in practice quite another. And I think there's a big gap between the two.
I'm just looking forward that we would maximize our efforts to bridge the gap, and then we will minimize the level of insecurity and corruption in both countries.
So I think one way that this can be overcome, this deficit, is embracing technology. And it's happening already in Ghana. So there are a number of digital platforms that are already in use and will take the human factor out of transactions. There's transparency, there is a history of transactions, and everything is there to be audited over time. So I know the port system and at the airports, the digital system is in place, so goods coming into the country now are captured digitally. And it's going to be linked, I think it might be already with the Revenue Authority, so the duties and taxes are paid.
Are being controlled.
Correct. And I see now the FDA is linked to that as well. So you have quality control over products coming in, which has been an issue in the past, where there have been pharmaceutical and foodstuffs coming in which are not necessarily fit for human consumption. So I think embracing technology is definitely one way of us improving this deficit.
That is good. At least there's no worrisome. Like, we are making improvement and strides with the embracing of technology, like you made mention of.
You know, in the 8 years that I've been living and operating in Ghana, there have been material strides forward. There's definite progress.
That's good. That's good. Now, I think that one thing that most businesses are complaining globally is the presence of COVID-19. What is the peculiarity of businesses between Ghana and South Africa so far as the chamber is concerned? What has been your diverse effects of COVID-19?
Well, all negative. And we are no different, and we're not exempt. So whether you're in South Africa, Ghana, America, or the UK, I guess it's the same. Depending on the industry you're in, you're either lucky or you're unlucky. So MTN have been big winners because of the demand for data. So they have been, they would probably say that they've had a good pandemic. But if you're in the hospitality industry or the travel industry, you own a hotel or you operate an airline, you're very unlucky. You could have had a good business the day before and no business the day after. There's no skill in that. You're just very unlucky. So, and then in between you have some sectors that have been spared and others that have been affected badly. I think if you're in the tech space, depending on what kind of tech you're in, I think you've been okay. Luckily, one of my businesses is tech focused, and I think we've been largely unaffected, although it is difficult. But then in other areas, of course, everything has been on a downward trend. We're over a year now. I think we're into month 13 or 14 now.
14, yeah.
And going forward, I still see a very difficult trading environment, whether you're in South Africa or Ghana. The lasting economic effect, I think, is going to be more damaging than the health effect in the short term. And how we embrace technology, creativity, innovation is going to be the big thing. We can't just be in survival mode forever. At some point you say, okay, we actually need to look forward. We can't keep shuffling. And so I think what we're trying to do in the chamber is to make sure that as much as possible we help our members, those that do need help, working in collaboration with other companies. The banks have been good, and luckily we have a couple of the big South African banks as members. They've been fantastic supporting us. But yeah, I think the COVID has spared no one, and we have no preordained right to survive. But I'd like to think that we're being creative and innovative and trying to embrace new ways of doing business, which should in due course make us stronger and more sustainable.
It should. It should. I'm grateful that we are thinking of future, we are thinking of surviving, we are thinking of making a headway rather than settling with the predicaments of the pandemic.
So I think the early days of the pandemic, it was about survival. I think that makes sense. But as it's dragged out, and of course none of us knew what this pandemic was all about and how long it would last. But at some point it was clear that this was going to be a long haul. And so we would need to shift from survival to growth at some point. And I think we're at that juncture now.
That is good. That is good. Let's come to some few peculiar businesses that I know of. Then let's see how it is fared. How is wine from South Africa doing in Ghana? Because I know a lot of people, Ghanaian community people, that take red wine a lot, but all the time they are in for South African wines. I hope COVID-19 didn't affect the wine industry that much.
It did.
Or the beverages.
It did.
It did.
Very badly.
People, there was no much more intake of wine?
There wasn't, and I'll tell you why. The South African government imposed alcohol bans. And not just local consumption within South Africa, but export as well.
Oh, wow.
So no, the wine industry, which is one of our absolute champions, all in the Western Cape, has been badly affected.
Gosh.
Yes, so loss of jobs has been immense. Tens of thousands of jobs lost. Volumes of export gone. And bear in mind that there's a shelf life for some of these wines. So when they're in the vats, depending on where they are in the process, I think they've had to flush hundreds of thousands of liters of raw product away because it could not be used. So one of the big losers in South Africa has been the alcohol industry. So wine in particular. A number of the smaller farms in South Africa are now not so confident that they will survive going forward. They were already struggling pre-COVID. So it's not a COVID-only phenomenon, but they were under pressure before COVID.
Before COVID. And
And
COVID
I
also
think,
set in.
yeah, and COVID set in and it just exacerbated the existing problem. And I forget the exact number, but I think 80% of the wine producers in South Africa are on the smaller side. And they are the ones that are not, they don't necessarily have a balance sheet to ride this out forever. So that sector, that industry has been decimated.
Is there going to be some stimulus packages, some measures or things that government of South Africa is going to do to resuscitate the dwindling farms?
I'm not an expert on that sector, but the short answer, if I hazard a guess, is going to be no. Purely because the government doesn't have money available. Yes, there are COVID funds, but my sense is they will probably be used in other areas. So no, I think it's going to be left up to the companies themselves to find a way out of this muddle.
All right. Now let's look at the brighter side as a chamber. That in the future, between now and maybe the next 2-5 years, what are some of the new things that the Ghana South African Business Chamber is looking forward to?
Well, we've got 3 drivers which we hope will keep us relevant in the new world. And in fact, we came up with our strategy pre-COVID. So the first one was embracing the digital economy. We can come back to that. The second one is focused on the free trade area, the continental free trade area, which I think for all of us is potentially a good thing. And then the other is focusing on ESG within our community. So environment, society, and governance. So how do we use the UN's Sustainable Development Goals for 2030 to show Ghana and to showcase how we go about our business, not necessarily what we are doing. So as a community, we want to look at a broad range of ESG indicators to enhance what we are doing as a community. So each of our individual businesses, the bigger ones especially, have very advanced CSR programs. So MTN, Stanbic, First National Bank, Goldfields. You can read about them in the newspaper all the time, doing good work in communities. That makes for good reading. But we have a lot of smaller companies that don't have clearly articulated plans, and we want to. So that is an important part of our future. And especially given the crisis the world faces in terms of the environment, we need to embrace clean techniques in any industry. And so I think that is important. If we focused on the ESG part of what we do and combine it with the digital economy, we are going to be working very closely with the startup incubators in Ghana. We've already set up one very important partnership. I can't mention our partner's name just yet, but that will be revealed very soon. And to say, how do we enable those young startups in Ghana that have set up, they've been through an incubator program, but are still finding it difficult to be sustainable. So we know globally that out of every 100 startups, less than 10 make it past 5 years. So perhaps in Africa, the number is even worse. So maybe it's 5 out of 100. How do we find these young Ghanaians that have actually got the makings of a good business, but just need a contract from a bigger business or a strategic partnership of some kind, and then they have a business? So I think going forward, I see the Chamber being a player in the ecosystem here, and how we are able to collaborate with these startups. I think it's these startups that create jobs, after all, and these young Ghanaians have been through university here. They've got a good basic skill set. We need them to succeed because they're the ones ultimately that create jobs.
That is fantastic and interesting to know. We wish the Chamber all the best in the future endeavors, and we are there as a media entity. And the relationship we've been able to strike with the Chamber, where would keep on with the engagement to make the audience understand or know better about the South African businesses. We are there for you 24/7.
And we're very excited about working with your channel. I think you're quite right, as a mouthpiece for the important work that we are trying to do. Having a media partner such as yourselves is so important as we try to get our message out into the public.
Mr. Weber, I was grateful for the conversation today, and we look forward to much more engagements in the future.
Thank you, Reginald.
Okay. Weber Grant is the president for the Ghana South African Business Chamber, and we'll be having conversation on the trade and businesses of South Africa, what COVID-19 has presented to them, and then as a chamber, what they are looking forward to. That's more to it for another discussion on issues concerning business and other items to here at AM Ghana. I'm going to go on a quick turn. When I come back, we have more for you on the show. Do stay tuned.